at this, but maybe with a little practice, I could tell myself to relax it. Will be better next time I try. And even if I still can't do it yet, you know that I'm gonna stick to it. Yes, it's all about going through it, and I'm gonna tell you why. Whoopsie! It's all about
Whoopsies,
going
I made a mistake and it's okay.
It's okay.
Whoopsies are what it takes to get better and better every day.
Whoopsies, I made a mistake and it's okay.
It's okay. Whoopsies, help me look, see I'm better at this today. Woo! Whoopsies, whoopsie, whoopsie, whoopsies. I'm a little embarrassed when I look at my drawing compared to this. I'm just not getting anywhere with this. It makes me wanna hide. Aw, don't be embarrassed. Don't hide.
You should have seen mine the first time I tried. It took a lot of whoopsies to look this way.
No one's perfect on their first day. Whoopsie.
Whoopsies, I made a mistake and it's okay. It's okay. Whoopsies are what it takes to get better and better every day. Whoopsie, 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 whoopsies.
Well, what about this? I want to jump rope, but nope, I just can't do it.
Well, not yet. Come on and practice with me. You'll see there's nothing to it.
Whoa! Whoopsie.
Whoopsies, I made a mistake and it's okay. It's okay. Whoopsies, help me look, see I'm better at this today. Woo!
It was only a dream, the waves of evil crashing over us. It was only a weak and faithful scream beneath the battlements. I know it's hard, but for long, before it's too late. Wake up, my love, please don't give up on me. It's hard. Wake up.
Welcome back to the 100 Days of Rootkit stream. Over the next 45 days, we will continue embarking on our journey through the world of computer programming, exploring all of its complexities, nuances, and opportunities. Our goal is to equip you with the knowledge and skills necessary to obtain Rootkit's ComSci certificate and become an expert programmer. So get ready to embark on an incredible learning experience that will take you from novice to master. Welcome.
What's up, you guys? How'd you like that special message from good old Bidon? Alright? Hey, we're a pretty exclusive club, what can I say, alright? We're making press everywhere. I'm just kidding. It's all fake. Alright? It's all a lie. I've been lying to you this whole time. Alright? Did I get a chuckle at least? Did you guys enjoy that? Let me pull up the chat so I can even see what's going on. And let's also get the chill music up. Alright? We need the chill music up. Look. Don't matter your political beliefs, alright? Don't matter them at all. All I gotta say is, I'm illiterate, Biden's illiterate, alright? If we can both make it, you're not illiterate, alright? So I know you can make it, alright? Come on, we got a low bar here, alright? Me, low bar, alright? Biden, low bar. You can pass this. You can pass both of us. Be better than us, alright? Be better than us. Alright, let's move forward, alright? Another day here at 100 Days of Rootkit. We're on day 45. Day 45. We are chugging along here. Are we not? Are we not chugging along? We are on fire right now. So, let's go ahead and finish up our little intro here. If you don't know, we are Rootkit, alright? Non-profit based here in the US of A. We're doing lots of free stuff, alright? We're doing this course, which, go to college. You can pay them $100,000 plus. Get the exact same education, alright? Or, we're right here for free, baby. You could go to a boot camp, which will teach you less, yet charge you more than us. And you'll get an inferior education, alright? Or you can just come here to us. It's free, baby. The cert costs money, obviously, but it's still a lot less than $10,000 plus. All right, we're talking about a couple $100 range for our certs. Also, on top of all that free stuff, if you go over to our site and our blog, you can see that we have our week 7 giveaway live. Make sure you go enter to get the mystery gift. Who knows what it will be? It's a mystery. We'll figure it out together. Additionally, don't go to this IP address. In the description of the video and of the Twitch channel, we have our giveaway. All right. All donations are being matched 1 for 1 for the first 10,000. So help us out a little bit. Doing things for free just ain't that cheap, you know. It's not cheap at all. It's actually quite expensive. There's a massive pit. We're burning money. All right, we're burning money. Kote keeps begging for healthcare. Right, keeps begging for it, and we keep telling him no. We don't take care of our single employee, all right? We keep shafting them, all right? So that's number 1 goal. Keep shafting employees. That's how you have a successful business. Ask Google. Ask Amazon. Standard issue piss bottles, come on. All right, let's move on. Maybe we should, Kote, should we start giving you piss bottles? I think that's the key to our success. We keep missing out on it. We need more controversy. But don't worry, I got some controversy for you here in a second, a little teaser. But if you donate, we have stickers, epic shirts like this one that we're giving away, and our epic sweaters, which we have for sale only on here for your donation. Also, we have pillars like streaming for 24 hours straight, shaving my head here live on stream, which I know you guys want to see. But no one, it's a universal agreement that none of us want to see me shave my beard. So we don't need to go there. That's a little too far, all right? Little too far even for me. And I go pretty far with some stuff sometimes, all right? So contrary to what our lawyers keep telling us, all right? We keep going back and forth with our lawyers and they keep telling us bad idea. All my team is agreeing with the lawyers and saying it's a bad idea. But me, I'm a little crazy, all right? So I told them, this is what they said was a bad idea. I don't know why, but I told them I think it's genius. Starting today, Rootkit is launching a disinformation campaign. That's right, we're launching a disinformation campaign. A disinformation campaign about what, you say? Great question. A disinformation information campaign. That's right, there's a second word there. That's the key word. Disinformation information campaign. We are going to be spreading information about disinformation and how easy it is to trick people online. What could go wrong? I know. Nothing, right? Nothing. Hey, frankly, we're losing money here. We're getting desperate. We need some attention. All right. We need something to feed our bills. All right. So last ditch effort. We're going to be making lots of content using our internal operation matrix tool. We've teased it a little bit, especially in the supporters chat. If you guys are in our supporters chat, you've seen a little bit of our operations matrix tool. You've also all now seen it at the beginning of the stream with President Biden giving us a little presentation there. We are going to be making a lot of videos, generated audio using AI, generating videos using AI, deepfake, and lots of other material in order to mass produce TikToks and YouTube shorts. Mass produce these and spread good, useful information, but with the people that don't match it. We got people like Snoop Dogg, President Biden, and various other individuals who will be joining us on our journey. Are they actually joining us? No, they're all fake and generated, but you won't be able to tell the difference. And so we're going to be showing the dystopia we're slowly going and drifting towards, and how easy it is to trick you, the viewer, into believing whatever we desire. All right? Oh, it's going to be a fun time. All right? We're going to be teaching people, obviously, normal educational stuff like Rootkit, programming, etc. We're also debating on opening some extra channels for covering extra topics. They will all be fact-checked items, right? Real information, but with fake people, to show the dangers of the technology that is here and how there's no solutions to stop it. It's kind of like when Photoshop first went off. All right, people freaked out about Photoshop and it was pretty rampant. Still is rampant to today. There's still really no solution to a point today. Some people have an eye for finding it, but Photoshop can be really good, especially when it's AI enhanced. We're at another crisis. All right, we're at another crisis. There are solutions out there in the works that I believe in, but they are highly controversial. So we will talk about them on another day when we're going to be doing an intellectual stream. What is an intellectual stream? Just like our chat, it's going to be over controversial topics that we just sit here and shoot the shit about, yell at each other, fun stuff like that. You know, have you ever seen, this is really off topic, but have you guys ever seen, look, US politics pretty tame, to be honest. There's nothing like fun or crazy. Maybe the last, what do you call it? The speech Biden gave for the, oh God, whatever the thing was that just happened. Important event, right? Important event. There was some controversy because people were getting loud and shouting things. That's probably the most action Congress has ever seen. If you ever go over to UK and see the Brits in Parliament talking and discussing stuff, holy shit, it's like World War II in there. They're at each other's throats. It's pretty funny. It's pretty intense. That's all I gotta say, all right? That is all I gotta say. So, highly recommend after the stream, go YouTubing some Parliament chit-chats, all right? Some Parliament chit-chats from the UK. That will keep you entertained. All right. Shall we move on? I know you guys like talking about politics, but we sadly got to move on here. Are you guys excited? How's your guys' projects going on? How's your, what do you call it? No, not that. The challenge I gave you guys. How's that coming along here? Good? Trekking along? Well, we have some progression. We got some insight from our customer, and we got to modify our code, deliver version 1 to them, and then start working on some file I/O. What is file I/O? I/O, you should know, because it's a quizzable item on the exam, is input output. That's for input and output of a system. So file IO would be adding files, reading from files, that type of stuff, which we're going to be doing here with the next progression of our system, which is saving stats, right? Saving stats. So the customers came down and told us they want everything to be delivered in Git, all right? They want Git and a GitHub account linked, etc., etc. And we told them, come on, it's so much work. And they said, yeah, we want you to do it. We got to do things proper, all right? And you said, you know what? All right, we'll do things proper because Elijah told me that we do things proper most of the time. We are devs, so we're inherently lazy, but we know by not being lazy this one time, it will help with our laziness later on, all right? So we're just paying in a little bit to get lazier later on. That's the goal here, all right? That's the goal here. So step one, we obviously got to log on to GitHub, right? We got to make a new repo. So let's go ahead and go to GitHub. And let's go over to our profile. Once you go to GitHub, you can go to your profile and repos, and we can make a new repo. You can also click this plus button right here and then make a new repo, whatever one you want to do. Let me zoom in here. We just got to make a new repo. So let's make a new repo, and we're calling this word guessing. So let's call this word guessing, right? Word guessing. Well, ideally, I mean, you don't want to have it public, ideally, if you're giving it to a customer or making for a customer. But in this case, we'll just make it public so you guys can have something showing off your GitHub profile here. So we'll go ahead and make it public, and we'll go ahead and add a README file in it. All right, this will skip some of those annoying initialization steps that we saw last time. Remember those like 6 commands we had to run in order to get things up and running and operational? If we add the README file in here, we can skip pretty much all of those. So let's go ahead and add the README file. All right, and then let's go ahead and create the repo. All right. Look at that, we created it. Is that you? Yes, that is a very old picture of me when I used to look fly. All right. Now I look like an ancient being. All right. So once we create the GitHub repo, we need to clone it. There's a couple ways we can go about cloning it. The easiest would be making sure we click on the code drop down here. We want to be local, which it will already be by default. HTTPS, and we're going to copy this link. All right, we're going to copy this link. Then we're going to go over to our VS Code or PowerShell, wherever you want to go. We just need to get to a terminal. So once we're in the terminal here, we can see we're in 100 days of rootkit. This is where I want to make the Git repo. All right, remember when you clone a Git repo, it will also make a folder inside of where you are and then put the Git repo inside of it. All right, it's going to make a folder with the Git repo inside of it. So we're going to, when we clone it, it's going to be a folder inside of 100 days of rootkit that has a repo. So let's go ahead and do a git clone because we want to clone this repo and paste, right? How you paste on here is your right click, that's right, right click, not left click, right click. And that's how you can paste, all right? Go ahead and run that. And bam, we have cloned it successfully. And you'll see there is a little folder in here. This folder is what contains our Git repo. So if we try to do a git status right now, you'll see it's going to freak out and give us an error because we're not inside of our word guessing folder. We need to cd into word guessing. Once we're in there, we can do a git status. All right, and now that will work. It says we're on the main branch. Sweet, we are on the main branch. When you first get on the main branch, what do we learn? Don't dev on your main branch. You can do it. I've done it. I do it for the AI aimbot, all right? Doesn't mean you're supposed to do it, all right? We're doing things more proper here, so we're not going to dev on the main branch. Once the main branch is initially made and created in some type of basic README is put here, so we have a basic README, it's time to switch to a dev branch, all right? It's time to switch to a dev branch. you have to make the main branch first or commit something first before you switch. All right, before you switch. You'll know if you switched before the main branch was made. Some funky things will happen. Don't worry. It's nothing like Game Breaker, it's just a little funky. So how do we switch branches? How do we make a new branch? Remember, we have get checkout. We want to check out to a new branch. But when we want to do a new branch, we got to do that tac B. Tac B to make a new branch. And we're going to call this branch dev. All right. If we press enter, our branch will be made and it automatically switched us to that dev branch. Now we can continue deving. All right. Now we can continue deving. So this new dev branch, remember, will never be reflected on the GitHub servers ever until, so if we look here, we refresh, we see no dev branch here. We see no dev branch. Everything exists locally on our machine. To push all the new changes we've done, we need to run that git push command. So let's go ahead and run a git push. All right, didn't really like that because we made a new branch. So it's saying, hey, run this command instead. So let's just copy it. How you can copy in here is highlight and then left click on it. That will copy and then left click again to paste. We'll press enter and now everything is pushed up to GitHub. So now if we go over to our, where is it? This, and then GitHub and refresh, you'll see our branch is now here. Sweet, everything's going good so far. Everything is going solid. Wouldn't you say so yourselves? Let me pull up chat here. Any questions? Yep, git status fatal. Yep, that's because, remember, you got to go into the folder. You got to CD into the folder. So make sure you CD into the folder after cloning. Yep, none of the git commands will work until you're in a git repo. A repo with git inside of it. So remember, you got to CD in that folder. All right. Let us continue. All right, let us continue. So we got our dev branch made. Let's transfer our code over. All right, this is a very difficult process. All right, I'm not gonna lie with you. It's kind of rough, but we'll get through it together. In our editor here, we got our folder. This folder contains our git repo, right? Right here is our word guessing game. All right, we gotta go through the process of grabbing this file and dragging it up and putting it into the folder. All right, and then we're gonna click on move. All right, we did it. That was it. I know it was a little rough, a little complicated. I can run through it again for you guys if you would like to see it again. I know some of you guys will really get lost in that, but it's all right. I'm here. I'm here to help you out. So once you've completed that strenuous task, let's go ahead and add this to our git repo and push it up, right? So let's go ahead and do a git add. I'm just going to do a git add all. All right. After that, I'm going to do a git commit. And then we can give it a commit message, adding my base game. Then I'm going to close this message. That should finish the commit. And remember, after we add and we commit, technically we're done. But if we want to keep the remote server in sync with us, we got to push. So we'll go ahead and do a git push. Now everything's been shot up to the GitHub servers. And if we go over to here, we can see we recently did a push to dev. So if we refresh, we'll be able to see that our file is in here. Our current game is in here, which is super, super awesome. All right, super, super awesome. Now, I believe we finished this game, right, to completion. This game is a functional version 1 game. I guess there's one thing I need to make here. We have our word here that's hard-coded. So let me comment that out and uncomment the random word selector. So that way we have that in there. All right, we have that in there. Now this is technically a completed version of our game. Wait, can you go through those last couple of steps again? Remember, you got to do a git add because this is like an official save. So you can do Control S. That's an unofficial save. The official save is you have to git add all of the files you want to officially save. I did an asterisk, or you can do a dot. That will grab all of the files in that folder. Then we need to do a git commit to make a little note along with our save, because we have to annotate each one of our saves. And then once you do that, you're done. But you want to also keep the remote server in sync, so you got to do a git push to automatically push everything up. So we're about to go through those steps again right now, because we just updated our game. We saved it, and as you can see, it's yellow here, and it has a little M. It means it's been modified since our last official save. This game is ready for V1. We can put this game over onto the main branch now, because it's an official version 1 product. All right, it's official version 1 product. So we first need to do a new save before a new commit before we actually put it on main, because it's not reflecting our little change here yet. Let me see, there's commit only seems to work for me differently. Yeah, you can write commit with a tac M if you would like. That's completely fine. That is normal. That is a completely normal, okay way to do it. So what he's mentioning, I'll show it here on screen what he's talking about. GitHub gave me issues logging in, just getting started. You can go ahead and log in. We haven't done anything crazy. We just made a GitHub repo and added this file to it, all right? Nothing crazy. And then this may already be fixed for you. It wasn't for me. I had to change it from my hard-coded word to the auto-generate or auto-selecting word. So before I can publish this, because if we look again, to iterate once again on our word guessing game on the dev branch, this still has the hard-coded word in it. Still has the hard-coded word, even though I've saved and changed it down here. We have to do another commit. You should be committing often, all right? It should be something that you're doing at least once every hour, if not more often than that, all right? If not more often than that, all right? So you'll get a lot of practice doing this. We're gonna run these git commit commands a lot moving forward, all right? So we need to do a git add. I'm gonna do a git add all and a git commit. Now, what Kamal was saying, there is another way you can do git commit. So you can do git commit by just typing git commit and press enter, and then you can label your commit, all right? Like you've seen me doing it so far. A lot of you guys will have the VI or Vi editor or Vim editor showing up instead of it being in VS Code. That's a setting you can change. Additionally, what you can do is tac M. Tac M means you're going to do the message right here in the command line. So we can do tac M, and we're making a string because that's what we're going to leave our message in. And our message is going to be, what did we do this save? What did we alter? We made it so removed hard-coded word for random selected word. All right. And if we press enter, that will work just fine. All right. That is an alternate way you can do it. Some people prefer that way. I don't personally, because I just like seeing the review, because when you do the git commit and you see that message pop up, it will tell you right there what's happening. I'll point that out next time we do a commit. We're going to do another commit. So once we did that, everything is saved officially on our computer. So now we got to do our git push to push it up to the GitHub servers. And bam, we're done. It's all pushed up. So now if we go over to GitHub and we look, it will say that we just committed an update to this file when we just did it literally right now. And it says now. And if we look at this file, we can see that this is now randomly selecting words and this is commented out. Additionally, we can see our little message right here. Removed hard-coded word for random word select word. All right, very good, intelligent message I wrote there. All right, be better than me. All right. Okay, so dev is ready for a version 1 release. It is ready for the customer to have this game as version 1. So how do we go about doing that? Couple ways. One is using git checkout to check out to main and doing a git merge. Remember, git merge is a pull type situation. All right, it will pull the dev branch into the main branch. All right, there's an alternative way we can do that, and that's using the GUI here. All right, there's a little button here for compare and pull request. There's this thing called a pull request. So we're going to show how to do that on GitHub. On GitLab, it's the same thing, except they call it push requests. It does the exact same thing. All right, don't get confused by the different wording. It's the same thing. If we click on this tab, let me make sure we're good. If we click on this tab, there's going to be a button here for new pull request. All right, new pull request. We're going to go ahead and click on that. Now, you'll see this little thing here. All right, it's going to say base, main, a little arrow pointing to it, and then compare main. This first one is the branch you want to pull your updates into, aka do the merge into. So we want to change this one from main to dev because we want our changes from dev to go to main. Makes sense, right? Our changes from dev to go to main for our official version 1 release. When you do that, it will give you some status things, tell you if it's able to merge it or not, and also it's going to show you all the commits that you did, so you can see all the updates that were done, the files that were changed, who contributed. It's like a nice little status board, all right? It's going to tell you everything that was done. So you get an overview and make sure everything is good and exactly how you want it. Once we're ready for this, we can create a pull request. This is where you kind of label it and give some context of what's going on. So on here we can say version 1 release of the game. And then we'll click on this pull request button here. Now, in a work environment, so when you guys go to work and be a professional dev, ideally, this is not the case a lot of the time, surprisingly, even though it's here. Ideally, what will happen is you will not be able to fulfill this merge request. You can by pressing this button here. Ideally, by default, at your job, it will be sent to reviewers automatically. Those will be people that you work with, or maybe your manager or something. They will be required to go in here and see your updates, make sure you didn't mess anything up, leave you comments, or tell you like, hey, found a bug when you do X, and then I can make a comment. It's basically a little forum we got here, all right? And you can see the comments that other people make, maybe the reviewers or other people on your team can make on this little pull request, all right? It's just an intermediate step that's not naturally built into Git. This is not naturally built into Git. This is a feature that GitHub and GitLab offer. It's like a little intermediate step to make sure things are okay before they go through. All right, so it's a little forum, you can chat, so forth. Ideally, this is not always the case. When your manager likes everything, they will click this merge pull request button, and you typically won't have access to click this button. But since you're the owner of this repo, you can. So we've reviewed our code ourselves, right? And we know everything's good. So we can click this button ourselves. We are our own manager and worker, all right? We report to ourselves. So we can go and click on this button for merge pull request. It will give us a little status message here, and we'll just go in and confirm the merge. And bam, it says it was successful and it closed this merge or this pull request. So if we click on pull requests, you'll see it's not there anymore, but it's logged in this history of closed pull requests. So it's just a nice little logging feature. So that way, when someone pushes out something buggy that breaks everyone's code, the management team can go back to this and see who messed up and then fire them, all right? Probably not fire them. Mess ups happen all the time, all right? Remember, oopsies are okay. Most of the time, all right? Most of the time, they're okay. So let's see here. But can you run through that changing process again from the beginning? I can't find find it on GitHub. Yep. All right, so let's go again. When you go to your repo, you'll click on the tab here called pull requests. When you click on the tab here called pull requests, you'll make a new pull request. This branch is the branch you're going to be pushing all your changes to, and this is the branch that has the changes you want to push into it. So in our case, dev is the one we want to merge into main. All right. After you do that, there's going to be a button here. It's not showing up for me because there is no difference between dev and main right now. But you'll click on that button to create a pull request. Once that pull request is created, it's going to look something like this. It's not going to be purple though, because purple means everything's been merged already. All right. When you want to finish the merge, you're going to click on the little green button down here that says create pull request or finish pull request or whatever it says. I can't even remember. And you'll click on that. This is just an intermediate little conversation blog thing so you can discuss with other people on your team and they can review your code before it gets merged to live. Because it'd be really bad if you were working on a project that had 1 million users and you made a pull request, you didn't see a bug, and you just immediately merged it into main. No one else reviewed your code. No one looked for bugs, before you did that. And then you merged it to main. It got distributed immediately to 1 million users, and it broke all their stuff. That would be a massive, massive issue. So that's why a lot of people will use this intermediate step here. My dropdown doesn't show dev. Make sure you made the dev branch and that you pushed. Dev isn't made by default. You got to make that dev branch. All right. So now, if you see, our main has our word guessing game here. It has our word guessing game. And it's all up to date with our version 1 of our code. So this is good to go. There's a couple extra niceties we can do for our users. Now, there are Git commands for it, which we'll talk about later. But let's just use the GUI here since we're already on it. All right. Right here, there's a little releases section. All right. If we click on it, we can make a new release. We can tag this with version 1.0, for example, because this is version 1.0 of our game. Right. Is everyone good right now? Before we chug forward. All right, so chugging forward. Right here, release. It's going to be on the main code page. If you're in a small mode, you're going to have to scroll to the very bottom. So it'll be here at the bottom. But it's called releases. And we'll say no releases published, create a new release. Remember, you have to be in the code section here, the code section. So I'm going to go and check forward. You guys can rewatch this part on YouTube's later on. So when you go to the release section, you can tag something by a release, for a release. So like version 1, you can specify something as version 1, version 2, etc., etc. And how this does it is first we need to tell it what branch we're going to currently make a release on. We're going to make a release on main with the most current commit. So what's currently most current on main. This is going to be attached to this current commit via this ID right here. Remember, every official save we do gets this little special ID. It's going to be a hash, all right? This is the shorthand version of the hash. It's actually quite longer than this, but they're only going to show you the shorthand here, all right? So this is what our ID is going to be actually, or our release is going to be actually tied to. It's going to be tied to this commit with this ID because that's currently our main, our most latest version of our main branch. So if we go here and click on create a new tag and we do main, we can go ahead and, we gotta put our new tag's name in here. This is gonna be version 1.0.0. All right, we wanna do at least three numbers, because remember, it's going to be major version, minor version, and then bug fixes, hot fixes, etc. is going to be for the last number, right? You can do more numbers than that if you want, but ideally you want to always at least have three numbers here. So we'll go and click on this button right here now for create a new tag. We're going to give this a little title. Epic release of version 1 of our cool game. All right, this is just a little informational blog basically. All right, all this title and this description here is a little informational blog. You can add your release notes. So if you guys have ever seen patch notes, all right, let's see, League patch notes, for example. Lots of games will do this, especially competitive games. Is the last one the last patch notes? For example, League of Legends. They have these things called patch notes. All right, patch notes. Why are these a things? Where do they go? These are things that this is a thing everywhere. Patch notes usually go right here in the release, right here in the description area. Well, everyone has time to make a pretty website like this. All right. If you don't, like most people, you'll just title it right here. So for example, League labeled theirs this patch notes 3.3 notes. All right, this is just a title for your version. This is your actual version number. This is just a title for this blog post essentially, and then they'll have some text. All right, and that will go in here. You can put whatever you want in here. All right, whatever you want. We're just going to mimic kind of what League of Legends does here for their stuff. You can also attach any additional files like binaries here if you would like. We're not going to do that. We're just going to click on publish release now. All right, this publish release button. We'll click on that. There we go. We have our official release here. Now this is a nice little thing right here, nice little blurb. We can always come in later and edit these notes, edit these patch notes or release notes, whatever you want to call them. And if we click on code now, you'll see that right here in releases, we get this little thing that says our release notes. I guess we should change this because we're on, we'll call this patch notes 1.0, all right? Because that's what version this is right now. That's a little confusing. So if we go over here, you'll see patch notes 1.0, and it will say something was tagged as release. And so people can click here and see automatically your code will be put into little zip files that people can download immediately right here. So even if we release version 2.0 later on, people could go back into history and see version 1.0 and just download that version of the game if they'd rather have that one instead of our latest version. All right, we'll show that later when we get to version 2.0 of our game. So that's pretty much our journey here on Git. Any questions on this before we move forward and make additions to our game here? Also, you'll see here in the drop down that it says version 1.0.0. And when we click on it, you might be confused because it says dev and main, because branches is the default little tab here for which you get to view. Right here is tags. So if we click on tags, we can see all the versions of our game that we've made. And here's 1.0. When we have more versions, they'll show up here so you can filter based off versions of the game. If we look at other repos, let's go to, I don't know, Linux. That's a good example, right? Releases. They have a release section right here. If we click on releases, it may not show right here in releases, but it will be underneath tags, and we can see all the different releases they've had. If we want to go to an older version of Linux, like 6.0, we can click on this, and here's all of the code for version 6.0. And it will tell you like when it was created, and various other information that they include. we made it before making the dev branch, could we go back in and change it to add the dev branch? You can still add the dev branch right now. You can still add the dev branch. Don't worry about that. You can't really undo history. So what I mean by that, everything you do on Git is very much like the blockchain, like crypto. Everything you do is public. So if we click on commit here, it's public, it's viewable, and it's not impossible, but it's pretty impossible to remove this history. You can remove it. It's a really massive pain. We're going to show you how you can do it, because we'll make one of those mistakes, because you will make one of those mistakes, and show you how to remove and undo things, but we're not going to do that right now. So you're okay. You can make your dev branch right now. Just if anyone ever looks at the history of everything and sees like what was going on, they'll see that you were working on the main branch instead of a dev branch. It's not that big of a deal. So go ahead and make your dev branch if you haven't already. So if you did all that on main and you never made a dev branch, this is your time to make a dev branch. Remember, it's going to be git checkout tac b. Tac b is for making a new branch, and then dev. And remember, you need to do a git push, but git push will always error when you try it on a new branch, and it's going to tell you what command you need to run. So go and copy that command and run it. So let's do a git status here. It looks like we're on dev right now. All right, looks like we're on dev right now, which is great. Let's test something though real quick. Let's do a git checkout and go view our main branch on our local machine. Let's view our main branch on our local machine. When we do that, oh no, what happened? Our code is gone and the README is only here. What is going on right now? To make this look a little nicer, I'm going to be other files. I'm going to move all of these into this folder so we don't get confused with those files. There we go. What happened here? I just went to the main branch on my local machine and it's missing things. It doesn't have my main. It doesn't have my guessing game right here. It's missing it. Even though the main here has it, I don't have it on my local machine. Do you guys know what's going on right now? Any guesses? Go ahead and guess, you guys. It's all right. It's okay to guess and be wrong. I'll give you guys like 10-ish more seconds. All right. Remember, we manually have to make sure our local machine is in sync with the server and vice versa. All right? It's not an automatic process. We have to do it manually. We're out of sync to the GitHub server right now. We are out of sync of the GitHub server. Why? How? Because someone else made changes that weren't us. What do you mean? We did it ourselves on the website. Yes, but you didn't do it on your machine. You did it on a different server. You did it on the remote server. So now you are out of sync of this GitHub repo. This is ahead, more ahead than you are. All right? It's more ahead than you are. It has more updates to it than you have currently on your local machine. That's not an issue though. Whenever we want to get the updates, we can say git pull. All right, git pull will pull the updates down from the server to us. So if we do a git pull, pay attention here, you'll see we're going to go from our word guessing here in our README. And it's going to go and it's going to fill up now with our file. And now we're going to be up to date. And you can even see some things happened here. What things happened here? We had some updates happen on main. That tag we made is being synchronized now with our local machine. So now we have that version 1.0 tag, and we grabbed our files. All right, it downloaded some files. All right, so we got everything now. We're in sync. We're in sync. So remember, you got to manually put yourself in sync. It's a manual process. It is not automatic. Any questions on that? It's good to see you, Tipstar. You see here. All right. Final promise, or final question, I promise. You could ask more questions. Just waiting for you to type it in. We add the dev branch in afterwards. Like I said, you can add it in right now. So if you're on your main branch, that's fine. If you forgot to do it, that's fine. So make sure you do a git status and you're on your main branch. Also make sure you do a git pull, because if you did some stuff on the GitHub website, make sure you have those updates on your local machine. Once you have those, you can just make a branch like you normally do. It's not that big of a deal. Just go ahead and do a git checkout tac b and then dev. All right. I don't need to do tac b since I already made the branch. So I'm just going to say git checkout dev. I'm going to switch over to my dev branch. Remember, once you create a branch, you need to do git push, right? You need to do git push. It's going to error out when you make a new branch and you do a git push, but it will output the command that you need to run. So just copy and run that. All right. Mine's not going to, because my stuff's already made. Once we've made it after the whole version release on GitHub, however, if you have a main branch and you have a dev branch, are they both in sync, or do they both have the exact same contents in the same file? If they don't, then you just need to make another pull request. But instead of going into main, you're going to update your main contents into dev. Or what you can do is use that git merge command. All right, if you're in the dev branch, you can do a git merge with main. And remember, tac no ff is the preferred option. You can run it without it, but it's best if you do it with tac no ff. Okay, perfect. Yeah, if you did that, then you're going to want to merge. So do, a git pull, get your updates, check out into your dev branch. So you should be in your dev branch. Then just do a git merge with main. So if you're in your dev branch, run git merge main tac no ff. That will take all of the updates you did in main and bring it over to dev, so that way your dev is in sync with your main. All right. We're going to go ahead and move on here. Customer has said they like it. They like version 1. They're happy with what we've done. They're very happy, and we think we're making them a lot of money. Right? So they want to make us more money. They said they'll pay us another 100,000 V-Bucks, all right? Another 100,000 V-Bucks to make some additions to the code. They want us to save scores, high scores. Well, they just said save scores. So it's kind of general right now. They left it up in the air for us to move forward. So we need to do some saving of things to files, all right? We need to do some saving of things to files. Right now, if we wanted to save stuff, it'd be kind of weird. Like, what are we saving? Or I guess we should first back it up a second. The customer wants to supply, they don't want to touch our code. They want to supply a file with words in it. And those words are what we're going to use for our guessing game, right? And they want us to read that file, right? Scratch everything I said before. That's what we're going to do for version 2, right? So we need to read from a file words, and then we need to make those a part of our playable game. Sounds complicated, right? It's not that complicated. Don't worry. I'm going to get you through it. So first, let's make a file in our word guessing folder here, all right? Let's make a file and let's call this our word list. All right, we'll call this our word list. In our word list, we need a list of words. The customer, so there has to be a format to the madness. There always has to be some type of format. The customer said they're going to be giving us their words one line at a time. So each word is going to be on its own line, right? Each word is going to be on its own line. So we could sit here and simulate what they might do by writing in words, or we can just go to the Googles and we can search like a word list. Word list. Look at that. Here's a word list. Let's go ahead and steal some words, shall we? We'll just grab these pleasant words right here. Close this, paste here. Woo-wee! Ain't that some madness? All right, that's not ideal. Let's go back to that word list. There are ways you can fix this. I guess we could fix this right now. So what we're going to do, how we're going to fix this is every one of these words have, by looking at it, it looks like they have a tab. I know this looks different than this. Trust me, it's a tab. That's how a tab works. It works differently than you think it does. But these are all just one singular tab. So if we highlight one of these tabs and do Control F, here, let me give you guys the word list that I'm using so you can follow along. Where's the, let me type in word list. I'll post that in the chats. There you guys. So you can follow along here. So just go ahead and copy any amount of these words. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you start. Just copy some of them. Paste them in here. All right, paste them in here. Once you paste them in here, highlight one of the spaces in here. They're going to be all tabs. Even though they look different sizes, they are all one singular tab. We're going to copy the tab and then do Control F. All right, that's going to bring up our control find. By default, it's going to find all tabs. And as you can see, all of those tabs are being found right now. Next, we're going to open up this drop down menu so we can see the replace, because we want to replace those tabs with something different, with something else. All right. What are we going to place those tabs with? Will this work? I don't know. Will it work? No, it doesn't. How the hell do I do an enter? Let me see. Let's go to Google's and ask the questions, shall we? The most important questions. How to replace spaces with new lines in VS Code. All right. I just did that. It didn't work. Are we missing a step here? We did Control F. You insert new lines by doing Shift plus Enter. All right. So Shift plus Enter. Yeah, it's going to be Command F for Mac people. That's right. Thank you, Kamal. So Shift plus Enter. So we're going to click in here and do Shift plus Enter. There we go. All right, that looks like it worked. That looks like it worked. So now let's go ahead and do the second button here is Replace All. All right. So we're going to click on Replace All and bam. We got our word list now and every word is on a new line. We're good to go. All right, we're good to go. Everyone following, everyone tracking. If this was a little too confusing for you, hey, we're moving on. So what you can do instead is just write like 5 words in this word list yourself. And then you can revisit this part on the video later on. All right. All right. So I'm going to erase that first little tab or that new line there. And we got our word list. Our game is about to be popping. All right. And I'm going to remove this A. I don't want that to be a word. That's a little too easy. So I'm going to remove that from my word list. So, but we got a word list here. All right. It's pretty long. It's pretty long. We got 179 words. I don't want this A here either. 178 words. So cool. We have our word list. How do we get the words into the program? Seems very difficult. I know. Don't worry, it's very, very easy. So remember, the first thing you do every time you are tasked with something you don't know what to do, break it down in its smallest parts, the smallest components. Because you asking Google, how do you make a word guessing game? You're not going to get very good results, especially when this gets upped to a higher complexity, which it will later on when you're playing games. Yes, we created a new file called word list. Oh, are you saying create a file for them? We already did create a file for them, and that's our word list file. We don't need to create a new file. But always break it down to its simplest parts. So in order to read a file and get those words in our program, we first need to know how to open a file in our program. All right, we got to open a file in order to read from it. Well, I guess just asking how do you read from a file is our first step. All right, how do you read from a file? So remember, use Google. Try, if it seems a little like a very big question, try to break it down into its more core components and then ask those one bit at a time. So let's go ahead and do Python read a file. All right, read a file. If we press enter, we'll see we got a link here. Mine's purple because I never remember this command. I look it up very, very frequently. All right, I look it up very, very frequently. If we look here, open a file on a server, we don't really want to do that. We just want to open a file. It looks like there's a function here called open, and this is how you can go about doing it. Looks like we say open, we have to say what the file's name is, and then we have to say R. What is R? I don't know, kind of confused here. And then you can do f.read file. Interesting. All right, before we read on, I guess let's just see if this works. Let's go and copy this code here and steal it for our own use. Now, I don't really want to mess with my game right now because I don't really know what I'm doing. So instead, let's make just a new Python file for testing things. All right, let's call it test.py. All right, there's no harm in doing this. Let's just make a new file called test.py. And here, let's go ahead and paste what we got. Now, before we run this, we don't really know what R does. We know what print does. F.read, not sure on what this does, but we can guess that's maybe reading the file. All right, but we know this is not what our file's name is. So we know if we run this right now, it's going to create an error, right? It's going to error out. So we know we need to change this part. What are we going to change it to? Our file name. Now remember, when you put locations for files, you're going to be able to use relative or absolute paths. It's up to you. This is using a relative path. So this is going to be relative to where you run your game. All right, relative to where you run your game. This is going to cause some issues for some of you guys watching. What do I mean by that? I'll show you. Our word list is called word list. So let's just change this to be called word list. Makes sense, right? So this should run. This should work. Let's press the run Python file button here. Interesting. It doesn't work. Now you guys may spend a very, 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 very long time trying to figure this one out. You may break a couple monitors. There's a very, very simple solution. All right. You got to look at your paths. Pathing is important. So what do I mean by that? What do you mean pathing? It's literally right there. It's called word list. When we press the play button inside of our VS Code, or we press F5, when we're not invoking it manually, it's automatically going to run or try to run our game from the directory of where our folder, our topmost folder is. So word guessing is a folder inside of this 100 days of rootkit folder we're in. So it's going to run these commands in the 100 days of rootkit folder. If we look here on the terminal, we can see right now we're in the 100 days of rootkit folder. This may be different for you. We're not in the word guessing folder. We're not in the word guessing folder. If this is a relative path, it's relative based off where we currently are running that command. We're running that command here at the 100 days of rootkit level. If I do an ls here, you'll see that we have no word list. We have no word list here on the side either. So to make this work, we need to do one of two options. All right, one of two options. One, we need to reopen VS Code from this folder. All right. Or two, you can just go inside of VS Code here, CD into that folder. All right. Now we're in that folder and that word list is here. And I think it should work. Yeah, it will work now that we've adjusted our terminal. We can press this play button and it will work now. All right. Or you can type in Python main if you want to invoke it. Python test.py, because that's what it's called. Let me open this so you can see, to invoke it mainly. All right. There is a third option. There is a third option. We could also do, since this is relative and by default when we press play, we're not in that folder, we could write the name of the folder here, word guessing / word list. This will work because this is the relative path to the word list from where we are. So if we run this now, we got the error before. If we rerun this now, you'll see it works. We get all those words printed out. So that's 3 different ways you could solve this issue. All right, 3 different ways you can solve this issue. We're going to keep it as word list. All right, we're going to keep it as word list, and we're just going to make sure we're in the same directory as our application. So let's go and CD back into word guessing. So we're in here. Any questions on that? If yours worked, then you must have been already in that folder, which is good. Just know this is an issue that can happen. This happens no matter what level you are. There will be times where you forget that something is in a different directory than where you're running your commands, and it's going to error out, and you're going to get mad because you're like, what do you mean? It should work. It's literally right there. And then you'll figure out after looking for a second, oh, I'm running I'm running it in the wrong directory. All right. So again, if we run this command now, you'll see all of our words are getting printed out. So let's go on break. Let's go on break, and we'll be back in 3 to 5 minutes. When we get back in 3 to 5 minutes, we'll continue on our journey here. Also, we're going to replay our little message from Bidon for all of those that missed it. All right. We're going to replay that message for everyone that missed it. All right. We don't want to leave anyone out. So I'll see you guys in 3 to 5 minutes. Alrighty. We are back. Alright, we are back and gonna be continuing on. We got a special message from President Biden himself. Alright. We'll get to that in just a second after we first tell you, hey, we're Rootkit, non-profit here in the US of A. We're out here teaching you how to become a certified dev. Did I close it? I must have did. We're out here to teach you how to become a certified dev so you can avoid college and not even go there, and boot camps and not waste your money. Come to us instead. We are teaching you everything that a college would teach you and more. Boot camps don't even come close. All of our competing boot camps are not even close to what we are teaching. It is completely night and day. You guys will be on a completely different level. You will be further than a 4-year degree individual, which is a kind of a low bar to meet in the first place, but I digress. On top of all this free stuff that we're doing for you guys, we're doing free giveaways too. Week 7 is live, so go out and fill that week 7 giveaway out so you can get some free prizes. It's just basic things like subscribing to our YouTube channel, following us on Twitch, basic things. On top of that, we have our charity thing going on so you can donate. We are a nonprofit. When you donate, you avoid those taxes, all right? Come, let us be your tax haven, all right? Avoid those taxes. I know year just started. Maybe your taxes aren't on your mind. Well, they should be because you should be filing them. But you can avoid a lot of them for next year if you go on and donate. All donations are being matched 1-for-1 for the first 10,000. So if you go on here and donate, when you donate, you can unlock certain rewards like our stickers, this epic shirt I got, and our exclusive 100 Days of Rootkit sweater, which is super awesome. Additionally, we got pillars like teaching for 24 hours straight, shaving my head here live on stream, and the one no one wants to see, shaving my beard. No one wants to see that, all right? Me without a beard, it's a sin. So before we go any further, let's hear from our special guest star today, shall we?
Back to the 100 Days of Rootkit stream. Over the next 45 days, we will continue embarking on our journey through the world of computer programming, exploring all of its complexities, nuances, and opportunities. Our goal is to equip you with the knowledge and skills necessary to obtain Rootkit's ComSci certificate and become an expert programmer. So get ready to embark on an incredible learning experience that will take you from novice to master.
Thank you so much, Biden. Thank you so much. That is so inspirational. Do you guys feel inspired? I feel inspired. I feel super inspired. If you guys don't know, this is going to be the start of Rootkit's disinformation information campaign, where we're going to be spreading information about disinformation, including our TikToks, shorts, etc. We are going to be generating hundreds and hundreds of shorts here using our Operation Matrix platform, which we've built internally to automatically generate content from various individuals. We got some Snoop Dogg coming in. We got President Biden, which will help be teaching you guys some cool tips, and many more guest stars. All right. If you want to see someone in particular help educate you guys, hey, you let us know. You let us know who you want to see and we'll book them. All right. No one is off limits. All right. We can go and reach out to anyone. We got some power here in Rootkit. All right. Any questions from the break before we move forward? Let me pull up chat. All righty. I don't see any questions. So let's go ahead and move forward, shall we? Our word list is printing. It's here. We got it. Cool. What's the next step? Well, let's think about it. What did we have before? Let's look at our game. We know that before we had a list of words, and all of our logic works really well when it's a list of words. We don't need to do any modification to our code really at all if we have a list of words. So, is this giving us a list of words? Do we know? Do we not know? Well, we do know a function that will help us figure it out. Remember that type function? It will tell us what type of variable we have. So let's type in our type function and wrap it around read so we can see what type of variable it's giving us, all right? What type of variable it's returning. So if we run this, ooh, we got a string. Interesting. So with that information, we could go Googling and try to figure out how we can make a string into a list. All right, we could Google that. That is something that does exist. You would find a solution doing that. But that's like a whole new operation we have to do, and that's a bunch of extra like work for the computer, because we're now not just reading it, but now we're doing a bunch of formatting to it afterwards. And I mean, we're not really worried too much about optimization because this is already a fast program, but I just am curious if there's a better way. All right, I'm curious if there's a better way. So let's go back to our page here, and I did close it out. So let's type in Python, read a file, and let's look through this listing here a little bit more. We still never figured out what this R is for. So let's keep going through. Looks like here, yeah, this is just showing that we can use absolute paths. Interesting. You can put a 5 in here. What does that do? By default, read method returns the whole text, but you can also specify how many characters you want to return. So I guess if you didn't want to read everything, you could put 5 in here and only read the first 5 characters. Pretty neat. Not what we need right now, but good to know. Let's go down here further. Interesting. What's this? Read lines can return one line by using read line. Interesting. It gives us only one line. So that is a thing that's possible. They can do just one line at a time. All right, interesting. Let's read further and see what else is here. By calling read line 2 times, you can read the 2 first lines. All right, interesting. Let's see what this looks in action, I guess. Let's comment this one out and do this and rerun it. Interesting. All right, we're reading the first 2 lines of the file. Looks like there's some extra spacing in there. Not quite sure what that's about right now, but we can look into it later. So maybe we use a while loop instead and just do read line and then get every single line. I guess that would work, and that would be a viable way to do it. Well, this documentation's been pretty juicy so far, so let's just dive through it a little bit more, all right? So let's keep reading down here. Looks like they're doing something right here. Loop through the file line by line. So I guess if we do this, that will give us the file line by line. And I guess closing a file, that would be important. Closing a file is extremely important. Please close your files. Bad things can happen if you don't close your files after you open it. The file will close automatically after a certain amount of time, which it has been for us. But it's best if you close the file afterwards. And there is a way where Python will automatically open and close the file for you. We'll go over that later. Right now, just know there's something called .close and open. Open will open the file. You need to do a .close in order to close this file. All right. Interesting. Well, we got some info about this read line thing, so we could move forward with that. I know there is something else that we can use. So first, before we do that, let's figure out what this thing is all about. So right here, we're in Python handling. So write and create a file, that might be interesting. You may want to read up on that for a later activity. Maybe when we talk about saving. It looks like they're using these terms here. There's more of them. What is going on? Oh, interesting. We have some clarity, some insight. And if we go over to file handling right here, we can get more insight. So we were at read files. The first one right here is called file handling. This will tell us some more information. R apparently stands for read. This is going to open the file in a read-only form. In a read-only form. You can only read data. You cannot add data. You cannot write or create new data. It's only read. So that's important. Remember, it's a read-only form. Append will open a file for appending. It will also create a file if it does not exist. That's good to know. So we can use A to add new data to the end of a file or create a new file. W opens a file for writing and creates the file if it doesn't exist. So it doesn't say here, but write will always overwrite everything in the file. Append will add it to the end. Write will overwrite everything in the file. And X will create a file and returns an error if the file doesn't exist. Sorry, if the file exists. Interesting. Don't know why we would need that right now, but definitely interesting. All right. What do you mean close the file? Click on it. So you're not the only one that has to click X to close it out. You also need to close it out at the programming level, because it works just like how you normally open and close a file. Remember, the GUI, everything you see is hooking underneath the hood to those system calls, to those underlying functions that your kernel exposes. Opening a file and closing a file must be done by all programs. Must be done by all programs. It can be really, really bad and really, really weird if you have multiple files that have opened a single file and are trying to write to it at the same time. Bad things can happen. So for example, if you open a file and someone else opens a file and you change some information and someone else changes information, you both click save at the same time, what will happen? A lot of bad things will happen. Someone's will get saved over someone else's. So by default, when you open a file, specifically in write mode, you want to be open as little time as possible. It is a blocking operation. What does that mean? It's going to put a lock on that file, which tells everyone else they can fuck off. They don't get to write to that file. You have total control of it. They can read the file, but they cannot write to the file until you are done. That will avoid issues. All right, that will avoid issues. So closing your file is important, because if you opened it in a writing format, so if you did a W here and you left it open, it's now unusable to everyone else. And remember, we showed some examples specifically about threads. We're not doing threading right now, but you can get into a deadlock. Remember the deadlock where it's like kind of a triangle? One process is waiting for another process and they're both trying to access some resources, a file. They're both in a deadlock position because they're both trying to write to a file that someone else is using. So make sure you close your files as soon as possible. Reading isn't really as affected. It's mostly when it comes to writing. Is this supposed to generate the same word repeatedly? Read line should read the first line, and then this will read the second line in our program. And it will always read just the first and the second line. So if you're getting the same word printed out twice, you might have the same word here twice on your word list. So double check your word list. There's additional things here called text and binary. Text is the default mode. We're only dealing with text. So we're not going to worry about this binary thing right now. All right, we're not going to worry about this. So this little value right here is what we can dictate whether we want read, append, write, or create access. We just need read right now, so that's why there is an R in it. So there is a Python function called read lines plural. Read lines plural, right? We saw read line singular. There is another thing called read lines plural, and that will return all lines in the file as a list, where each line is an item in the list object. Interesting. That might be more useful to what we need, because each one of our words are on a individual line. And it's going to give us a list based off of that, which is basically what we have right here. We have a list with each word in it. So maybe that's what we want to do. Why did ours show up when yours, hour showed up because hour is my second word here. And dance high is my first word. So dance high will always show up first and hour will show up second because that's the first and the second line. Yep, deadlocks are bad. If we put numbers inside the quotations for read, will it read those lines? That's what the documentation said. It won't read those lines. It will read, oh, this one right here? I'm not quite sure. You can experiment. It looks like it takes some type of int right here that you could specify. Not sure what it's for, but you can experiment. But we saw that we're able to do read lines plural. What's another way you could figure that out? Because I knew that. It didn't really show that on the documentation first. Well, when we do an F and a dot, remember F is our file. If we do a dot, we can see all the actions that file can take. And we could look through here and potentially find our read function here. And we can also find our read line in here and our read lines. So we could also, by exploring here, we could also figure out that information. So let's do read lines plural and let's see what it looks like. So let's do read lines plural and let's print that and run. Ooh, interesting. We're in business now. We have a list of our words here. A list of our words here. Exactly what we have right here. A list of our words. It's perfect. That's exactly what we need. One small little issue is that we got these new lines at the end. These slash n's. What are these slash n's doing here? Remember, slash n is a special character. It exists at all times in all files. You don't see it, but just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not there, right? You don't see the cells inside of your body and all the work they're doing. Doesn't mean they're not there. Or maybe they're not. Conspiracies. They're here. In computer world, they are 100% here. They are everywhere. That's what tells the computer why this line should be on a separate line than this one. That character is physically there. You just don't really see it besides your line literally being on a new line. So it looks like this is usable. We can do this. The only thing is we're going to just need to remove those new lines. All right, we're going to need to remove those new lines, little areas there. How do we go about doing that? Well, some of you might answer with slices. What are slices? Well, let's review. Let's just print one word out. So let's say read lines 0. All right, or even better yet, let's go in and put this, let's save it into a variable, right? So let's say all the lines in the file are equal to read lines. All right, so we're going to save all that data off into this variable. We want to get the first word in this array that we're getting. So let's just see that. Let's go and rerun this and see what happens. All right, good. We're getting this first word. Let's rerun this again. Why is it doing an extra space here? What happened to that slash n? All great questions. That slash n is now rendering. It wasn't rendering before, but it is now rendering now. How do you know it's rendering? Well, we have this extra weird space here. All right, that's how we know it was rendering. So how do we get rid of that? Some of you may say, let's do a slice. What is a slice? Well, slicing off the end of that word. All right, slicing off the end of that word. So we can do a slice by doing the colon here. But how long do we go till? Great question. There's several ways to solve that. Probably the most beginner way to go about solving that is to say we want the length of this line minus 2, because there's two characters there. There's the n and the slash. If we run this, whoops, sorry. We want a 0 here, and then add that like this. And if we run this, it's not going to work. Why are you not working? Is this supposed to be 3? Why are you doing this to me? Regardless, we're not going to use this method. All right, you can do it like that. All right, that is a way you can go about doing it. We're not going to do it like that. What we're going to do is we're going to do some Googling, right? Because this and a space and a tab, these are all things that are there but kind of invisible. The common denomination they all have is they're adding spacing. They're adding spacing, all right? Specifically, we call it white spacing, right? We call it white spacing. They're adding white spacing to our program. Is there a way we can just remove that white spacing? Maybe you didn't know that term, and instead you spent some Googling here and you said how to remove, let's do Python, how to remove a new line from a string. You could go and do this also. So you can do how to remove white space from a string, or you can do how to remove a new line, not a new life. Oh my, that's quite violent. And a new line from a string, not a new life. Oh boy, oh boy. Yes, /n translates to a new line. Looks like we got an answer here. We got some methods. Method 1, use the replace function. We could do that. Step 2, or method 2, use the strip function. All right, I'm down to strip. 3, use the sub function. Interesting. Which one's the easiest for me to do? That's what it really comes down to at the end of the day, to be honest. So it looks right here, we got a couple functions, including one that says strip lines, plural. Maybe that one will work for an array. I don't know. Let's go read a little bit. Sub, all right, I guess this is how we can use it in one way to replace these new lines. Let's scroll down a little bit more. Strip, oh, this one looks pretty easy. Yeah, I'm down for easy. All right, next, what's this? Split lines, and don't really know what's going on there. Let's go and move forward. What else we got here? Some sub stuff. We could also read these. The point is, look through your results completely. You don't know what else you might find, all right? And make sure you read all the stuff because we're not really reading it. Strip looks the easiest. So let's do that. Just because sometimes things are the easiest doesn't mean it's the best, all right? 90% of it usually is, but not in all cases. So make sure you look around. We can also look at the strip function here by clicking on it, and it will give us more information. So we can do strip at the end of a string, all right? We don't have to pass it anything because remember, things in brackets means they're optional. So we can put chars in here. Not sure what that's for, so we can read more about it. Specifically, what strip will do is it's a built-in function to the Python programming language that will return a copy of a string with both leading and trailing characters removed. All right, so strip will only work for removing white space from the leading and trailing characters. What are those? The beginning and the end of a string, not in the middle. So if you have spaces in the middle of your string, let's say you have a sentence, it will not remove those. So this will not work if you wanted to remove spaces in the middle of a sentence. We don't, we just want to remove that new line at the end. So let's try using this and see if it works. So we know this is a list, but we're getting the first item out of the list, which is a string. Since it's a string, we can do a dot and we get a bunch of options here. If we scroll through here, also, I recommend you always to spend some time to do a dot and look through what's all in here. You might be surprised, you might find something that's interesting. So we see split and we see strip here. So let's go ahead and press tab, get strip there. It's a function, so we got to add those two parentheses at the end, and let's see what happens. Let's run this. Ooh, look at that. The spacing is gone. The spacing is gone. We're saved. We don't need to do anything fancy or crazy. There's just built-in things. For common tasks or common issues that occur a lot, there's usually going to be something built in to help alleviate that issue. Like reading a file, removing new lines, etc., etc. Sorting things, that's going to be something that that's already built in, all right? Let's see here. Are you trying to tell us something? Blink twice if you need help. Oh no. On to me. All right. So this will get rid of our issue here. I think we're about ready to go. We have a way to open our list of words. We have a way to read all of the words inside of there. We already have a way to randomly choose a word. And we don't need to clean every word. We don't need to strip every single word. We just need to strip the one word we select. So now we have a way to strip that one word we select. All right. So I think we're about ready to add this code to our game. Yes, it did just print this, but notice it didn't print this new line anymore that shows up here and shows up here on our previous ones, because strip removed that extra new line. So now we just get this word. We don't get that new line. It's not there anymore. That's what strip is doing. It's removing all those invisible stuff. So spaces, tabbing, new lines are going to be yeeted out, right? They're going to be stripped away by default. So with this information, we have this working here. So let's do some more of the programmer's favorite thing to do. Copy and paste. All right, let's copy this first line and paste it in our game. Let's put it right here in the beginning of our game. All right, F was nice for testing. Let's give it a more proper name. Let's call it file. All right. So we're opening a file and we're storing it here in file. What do we need to do next? We need to read the file or all the lines in the file. So let's copy this line and let's paste it right afterwards. All right, all the lines in the file. This is going to error out because we don't have F anymore as a variable. We're calling it file. All right. Next, we don't need to print. We just need to get a random word and then strip and then strip. So what we can do instead is we can remove our words here completely because we don't need that anymore because we have this, all right? And we know we need this random logic. If we know we need that random logic and this variable doesn't exist, this has all our words anymore. Let's just copy this one and paste it here. Also, remember we got this one that we need to replace also. All right, good enough. We also need to do dot strip for our selected word. So let's copy dot strip and let's go back here. This is going to be our selected word. So at the end of it, let's just do dot strip. And we got one more step and then we're done. Remember, you got to close your file. Don't be a slob. Come on. We can close our file right here. Why right here? Why not after this line? Well, this line doesn't have the file, isn't referring to the file anymore. This is opening file. This is reading from the file and storing the data right here in this variable in memory. So we can close the file immediately afterwards because we're not doing anything else with it. We're just going to be dealing with our variable. And then we run our stuff here. So this, hey, it seemed like a big task, but not all big tasks are big. A lot of them are really simple or easy to do. They may require you to do some research, some experimenting. That's fine. That's a part of your job. You gotta be a researcher, all right? You gotta research, you gotta experiment. But at the end of the day, it was easy. We only had to do was technically only add 2 lines because we removed 1 line. So we only had to add 2 extra lines, 3 in total to get this to work. And if we rerun our program now, you'll see it's working. We have no clue what this word can be anymore because we have a massive word list here. So let's play the game. Let's say E. Oh no. Oh, I lost. All right, I lost. I'm sorry, but I still don't get opening and closing files. Like, would the program not run without doing them? Yes. The program, you cannot read from this file if you do not open it. For example, if I make, well, let's just open this in this file right here. Right? This file right here. Word list. I'm looking at it right now, right? I'm looking at it. If you tell me to read this file, can I read it right now? No, I can't read this file right now. So I have to open it up. I have to open it up. So when I double click on it, I'm not going to double click on it because, what is it? Okay, I guess I'm going to double click on it. What are you going to open in? Let's open a notepad. When I do this, I have now opened it up. Now, what's happening on the back end, because again, this doesn't work how you may initially think. What's going on here is this file was opened. What was it opened by? A program. We have built ourselves a program here. It does something very similar to what Notepad does on Windows. It will open the file, it will read the data in the file, and then it will display it to us, and it's actually closing the file behind the scenes. This file, even though we have it open right now, is actually closed. It's actually closed behind the scenes, and it only opened it in a read-only mode. I know, because you want to use the minimum amount of hardware as possible. You don't want to be a hardware hog. So this will open the file, and then it will close it, and everything we see is what's in memory. All right, it's what's in memory. How do we know that's the case? Can I prove that? Great question. Let's open this again in Notepad. We have two notepads open now. Two notepads open with our word list, right? With our word list here. All right, all of our words are inside this word list. Now, this will open the file in read mode only for a second, put all of the data in memory like we're doing in our program, and then close the file. Both of these files are actually closed underneath the hood. How do we know it's in memory? If I go in one of these word lists, add a bunch of spaces and say some new context in here and do a Control S, I've saved it. What happens when we save it? Behind the scenes, the Word program will now open the file again temporarily in write mode. Write this data in this file to the file on disk, and then it will close the file again. How do we know that was the case? Well, look, this file didn't change. This file did not change at all. Why didn't this file change? Because this file is not synchronized and is not reading from our Word file. If we reopen our Word file again, you'll see our new data is in there. I did save it. But our first notepad isn't showing that because it reads the file, closes the file, and it will only display you what's in memory. All right? It will only display you what's in memory because you want your file I/O to be as limited as possible. Please, for the love of God, close your files. Do not use them more than you have to. File I/O, talking to your hard drive, we've talked about this in our past classes, all right, is very slow. How slow? We'll go back to our hardware videos and you'll see if you already forgot. That is a testable thing. We will test you on how much exponentially slower it is to communicate with your hard drive compared to memory, all right? It is massively slower, insanely slower, all right? You want to avoid that. Now, I'm being very serious about this. Why? Because I've seen it. I've seen it from everyone from entry level to senior to literally people with PhDs not do this. And they have made their programs almost unusable because they'll keep files open in the background and it will bog things down insanely. Insanely. I'm talking about I'll go through and fix their stuff and give it a 90% increase in speed. It will go from literally like potentially days to literally like minutes, all right, to do some of the file IO stuff they're trying to do. Close your files. Close them. Be smart about it, all right? That makes sense? You only need them open for a second. I'm going to close all these. So just like I closed those files there, I'm closing them here. All right, I'm closing them here. The difference is here you need to close it because you're opening a connection, a pipe to the file, and you're reserving the ability to use that file. You're telling everyone else on your computer, hey, I'm using this file, and I might restrict other people from using this file. All right, we'll get more into it in regards to C. Specifically, you put locks on a file. So let's see, file locking. We'll go to Linux for file locking. It works the same way in Windows. Come on, can we? There we go. So there is a command in Linux called lslocks. This will tell you who has a lock on what files at any time. So if we go over to terminal, and we open up Ubuntu, and we do lslocks, it looks like no one has locks on any files right now. Is there attack A for all? No. So if we had a lock on a file, it will show up here. How do you have a lock on a file? You open it and don't close it. Read is slightly different than write. As you can see from their example here, almost everything is in write mode. Write will usually lock a file. Read, most cases, will not lock it because read is just an ingest method. It's not you changing the actual data. It's just you reading and ingesting it. No, exit does not count. Exit does not count. So Python will close a file for you if you forget to close. It will close it for you. Exit technically will close it for you eventually. And there's an opportunity, there's a possibility it doesn't. When it doesn't, it's going to be an orphan lock process. All right, it's going to be an orphaned lock process, which means the program you had will die, the lock will remain. So then it's going to be on the operating system to clean up your doo-doo. All right, we can see this happen actually on your computer. So if we go back to our test file and remove our fclose here, if we run our program a lot, I think it's not going to work because we're in read mode. So let me do this in write mode. Let me save this file, the file contents, because I don't want to do this again. I'm going to put it right here. I'm just moving the contents of our word list somewhere else because when you open it in write mode, it's going to erase everything that's in that file. So if we also in write mode, you can't read from the file. It's literally only for writing. It's not for reading. So I'm going to comment these lines also. So now if we rerun this multiple times, come on, can I do it fast enough? Nope. Can I do this? Why are you not? Always when I try to make these errors happen, they just never do. I think is it because, well, I'm starting new ones. Is it really just happening that fast? All right, what will happen is you will run into errors. All right, I swear to you, it does happen, and you will see it. It will happen to you. I'm trying to mimic the error right now, but effectively, you're going to get an error saying that you can't access that file because it's in unreadable state or it's locked. It will literally say it's locked. Let's see if we can Google and find the Python file locked error. So you'll get this right here, an IO error for EA access, right? Error number 13, EA access, right? They're getting it with write binary for their open, right? This means that, is this permission error? Regardless, you're going to get an IO error like this, and it's going to be because there was a lock, and if you don't close your files, again, this is only if you do not close your files. If you don't close your files, then you could potentially have a child, an orphaned lock, right? Your operating system will clean it up eventually if Python misses it. But until it gets to it, that file is literally unusable. It's unusable, right? You can get it back, worst case scenario, by resetting your computer, right? Because that's going to reset everything in memory. Let's do, can I do it with RB? I don't, man, why? I'm really trying to get this error. Okay, regardless, just make sure you close your files, all right? So you can remove those locks. Because again, you don't want deadlock things to go on. Again, deadlock image, let's pull up our deadlock image. Deadlock processing. There we go. This one right here. This is the one we looked at before, right? Process 1, which is a program. Process 2, which is another program. All right, they're both trying to get resources. Process 1 is waiting for resource 2. All right, I guess we could do it like this. Let's make two programs here. We got test here, so we're going to have test open this file in read mode, and then we're going to do this thing in Python. So we'll go over this later. Don't worry, this is a little further ahead. There's a thing called time, and with time we can sleep. This is a way to like pause your program. So we're going to sleep for 10 seconds, right? We're going to sleep for 10 seconds. So it's going to run this, open it, and then go right here and pause our program for 10 seconds before ending. All right, we can show right here with our print start and our print stop. All right, I'm going to make a new file, and this one is going to be print. There we go. All right, so I got two different test programs here, and I'm going to run them at the same time. All right, well, almost the same time. Let me open a new terminal. So we got two terminals here. CD, where are we? Word guessing. I'm going to say start 1, stop 1, and this one's going to be our start 2, stop 2. All right, not closing it, not closing it. So if we run test 1, all right, and then we go over to this one and we run Python test 2, you'll see that so it kind of showed here. Let me add some more print statements. Start 1, so this is going to print at the start. Then after this, I'm going to say print 1 just opened the file. All right, 1 just opened the file. Then it's going to sleep. Print, I'm going to sleep. And then it's going to say stop. I'm going to copy these ones and go over here to 2. So 2 just opened the file. I'm going to sleep, and then it's going to stop. So if we rerun this, let's bring that up here, bring this up. So test, just open the file. Oh, God, why do you gotta do this to me? All right, so it's not locking it. Do I need to write to the file? Does it want me to fully commit on f.write? Okay, let's try this again. I just want this error to come up so bad. Why you gotta do this to me? Okay, well the error's not coming up. I give up. All right, we're moving on. I give up. We'll see the error eventually. It will pop up in the most inconvenient time. All right, I feel it in my bones. Okay, regardless, our game, we made it. Before we close out the day, we made the game. We did some saves. All right, we did some saves. It's time for us to now do our official save. Except, wait, we don't want to just do our official save and be a lazy dev and say asterisk, git add asterisk. Because when we do that, we're going to upload this word list, which we're only using here for testing. All right, we're only using the word list here for testing. Let me grab my words again and put it in the word list. The word list here is only for our testing usage. The customer will add their own word list. So we don't want to supply the game with a word list. That doesn't make any sense. They're going to make their own word list. Additionally, we have this test.py here. This is for our personal testing. We don't need to give this to the customer. All right, it just looks kind of sloppy and amateur. We don't want to show them, we don't reveal how stupid we are, right? Do we? I don't want them to know that I don't know how to open a file, all right? And I had to test it, all right? So we don't include this stuff either. They don't need it. They do not need it. So remember, there's that special file. If we make a new file with .git ignore, .git ignore. This file is our list of files we want Git to ignore from saving. So we have our test.py and we'll press enter and we'll put our word list in here. So every new line will be a file you want to ignore, right? So there we go. You can see both of these are grayed out now. So we're going to ignore them. Whew, good. We won't make a mistake by uploading those. Additionally, a nicety, you want to be a good, nice dev, all right? Documenting your code is what a good, nice dev does. So I guess before we do that, let's go ahead and just do a git commit because we can do as many git commits as we want. And let's go ahead and save this. All right, let's save this stuff. So let's do a git add all. All right, now let's do a git commit. Now, I said before I'm going to show off why I like to do git commit and not attack M. When we do git commit like this, it's going to give us some overview information, like what branch we are on, because sometimes you may be on the wrong branch, so you may want to fix this. Also, it's going to tell us what files we're changing. There have been lots of times where I've wanted to do a commit, I was about to do a commit, I said git commit, and then I saw right here I was adding files I wasn't supposed to add, or there were files missing. All right. So if that's the case, I can just, without typing anything here, I can just click X and then do a git reset. Because when you just click X with nothing there, it will abort that commit. It won't go through. You can do a git reset and then do whatever changes we forgot to do. Then I'll do a git add again, a git commit, review, make sure everything's good. It is. So we're going to say here, added ability to read word list from a file, right? Because that's what we did. We added the ability to read a word list from a file. So we're going to close. This will go through with the commit. Now we need to update our remote server. So we'll do a git push to update our remote server. All right. Now, after we do that, a good dev leaves documentation in the code and out of the code. What do I mean by that? We leave some comments. So let's leave a comment here to ourselves and whoever else may be looking at this code. Opening word list file supplied by the customer. All right. Nice little comment. Not much work, but we left it there. We could also add something right here for selecting a word at random. All right. Just leave a little comment there. Additionally, we have this README file here. Now, remember this README file will do some nice formatting and, you know, it will make things look nice on our GitHub page. We can see a preview of this again with this little magnifying icon panel right here. All right. So if we click on that panel, we'll get our little preview here. Well, let's change this from word guessing like that to maybe word guessing. So 2 words. And then we can leave like a little description. Our epic cool game on guessing words. You can do whatever you want. All right. If you haven't figured out or inferred yet, the pound signs or hashtags are going to be how you make a title. All right. And you can make smaller titles with more of those pound signs. So if we do 2 of them, this title will be slightly smaller than the one with a 1 pound sign. All right. So this one, we're just going to do something nice for the customer and say setup. You must supply a word list file called word list. All right. If you do tildes, all right, tildes, that's above your tab key, you can make it display kind of like this. All right. Just adding a little bit of documentation here so people know how to set it up. And maybe you want to do also one that's for like running. To run, cd to the folder with the Python program, and then run the command below. And then we want them to run Python. This may be Python 3 if you're running on Linux or Mac OS, space wordguessing.py. All right. So now we got a nice little README page, right? Documentation. It's important. Make sure you do it. Everyone fails on it, even me, right? But we got to get those reminders. We got to remind each other. You got to remind your coworkers. They need to remind you. We all got to keep reminding ourselves and encouraging ourselves to keep documenting. Keep documenting your code. Once we've done that, we can go ahead and do another git commit because you can do as many as you want, all right? You should be doing them frequently. So let's go ahead and do a git add all and a git commit. And on this one, we're going to say added some docs, save, exit out, and git push. All right, git push it up to the remote server. And now we worked our 9 to 5. It's 5 o'clock. We finished up. We get committed. We push things up. We're ready to head back on home and call this a good day. Sure, we didn't release it to the customer yet. We'll do that tomorrow. But we did everything we needed to do. We saved our changes so we can go home and rest. Right? And if we go look at our GitHub, not view org, view profile, repos. We got our word guessing here. Let's go and click on it. And let's go to our dev branch because that's where we were pushing to. Whoa, look at that. We got some more files in here, but also we got this nice little setup here with some nice little, what do you call it? Formatting going on. All right, nice little formatting going on. We look really official. All right, we look like we know what we're doing. Don't tell them we don't, but don't worry. We look like we do, and that's all that matters, right? That's all that matters. All right, what other questions do you guys have? This is pretty much all we got for you guys today. Tomorrow we'll be continuing on. So tomorrow we'll finish up releasing this as version 2. We're going to go through all the same steps we went through at the beginning of today's lesson. We're going to go through it all over again. You're going to get a lot of repetition doing this stuff, right? So don't worry. We're going to do it a lot and a lot more. We're going to do it hundreds of times before this class is over. And then after we release version 2 on main, we're going to then get some new requirements for the customer for the high score stuff. We're going to make the high score stuff next. All right. What questions do you guys have before we call it a day? Any questions, you guys? Well, I put some files in .git ignore, but when I did git add, it added them. So do a git reset so it removes them. All right, git reset so it removes them, and then go through checklist. Number 1, did you add .git ignore in the correct place? Number 2, did you spell git ignore correctly? Then number 3, are the words inside of here spelled correctly also? Right? A lot of places this can go wrong. As you can see, from 2 days ago, we did the git class 2 days ago, right? I even messed up on it. All right, it's very common to mess up on it sometimes. So just go through those steps. They show as green just before I do the git commit. Yeah, so go through those steps. First, make sure it's in the right location. Make sure git ignore is the correct name. So for example, word guessing is our git repo. So inside of word guessing folder is our git repo. So it needs to be, git ignore needs to be in here, not above this folder, not in another folder. It needs to be in this folder. So make sure yours is also in this folder. Sometimes it can look confusing on, so if I move it like this, the layout isn't really that great. On VS Code, it kind of looks like it belongs in this folder, but it doesn't. So make sure it's actually in that folder, right? Make sure it's actually in that folder. Make sure it's also called .git ignore, all right? There is a dot in front of it. There is a period in front of this. It is .git ignore, not just git ignore. Did that work out for you? Kamal, you good? And did it work? All right, so let's continue this in the 100 days of Rootkit chat. So send a screenshot of what your folder structure looks like over to us in the 100 days of Rootkit chat, and we'll just take it from there. Also send us what's inside of that .git ignore file. All right, and we'll continue from there. But for everyone else, hey, thank you guys for joining on another epic day, and I'll see you guys on the next one.